Hello.
Welcome back to Historia.
I'm Kylie.
I'm Jamie.
Happy Halloween.
Ooh, happy Halloween.
This is my favorite holiday. It's like how everyone feels about Christmas. That's how I feel about Halloween.
I just like the fall.
That's fair. So this is super exciting. I knew I had to do something spooky for this week. So we're doing a haunted object today.
Ooh, I'm curious.
I don't think we've done a haunted object for a while.
I don't think I've done one. I think the only one we've done was... Oh, yeah.
We did the Hope Diamond and Annabelle.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I think so.
Could be wrong, but... Yeah, anyway, so this is another one. This is known to be, some people say, the most haunted object in the world.
Ooh.
So we're going crazy.
Ooh.
Zach Bagans. Yeah. All right. Do you want to guess or no?
Is it Robert?
No.
No, I don't know.
Okay. Well, today we're going to be talking about the Dybbuk Box.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I know.
He has that?
Yeah. It's in his museum.
Nope.
Don't look at it. Post Malone did that. Didn't go well. We'll talk about it later. So
Posty boy?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end. So there you go. If you're not if you don't like scary stuff, just wait till the end if you like Post Malone. All right. So my sources today come from, I think it's a podcast. It was like a YouTube video, but they like explained the thing like it was a podcast, but it's called It Might Get Weird. And then I also found a lot of information from the Skeptical Inquirer, an eBay post by Kevin himself, which we'll talk about. But I did get a lot of sources from his story.
Who the hell is Kevin?
You'll find out.
Oh.
He's the one who had the box.
Oh.
So the Review Journal and then Exemplar gave us a lot of information as well.
Nice.
So this is one of the big 4 haunted objects in Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum, but I couldn't find the other 3, so I don't know specifically what the big 4 is. But yeah, it's one of his bigger items.
Yeah.
That is like, look at it at your own risk.
Wow.
Sign a waiver type situation.
Yeah.
But like I said, many think of it as the most haunted object in the world. So it's kind of like, interesting. All right. So a Dybbuk is a malicious spirit in Jewish religious texts said to possess the living as a form of punishment or carrying out unfinished business. It wasn't a well-known creature and not a mainstream Jewish belief at all, especially as we, are in this time period. Just so you know, this kind of takes place in 2001. It's like when the biggest part of it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the 16th century, many believed that someone's wrongdoings would open a person up to possession by a Dybbuk, and it would cause a person to start acting weird and could speak through a person. But in our case today, the Dybbuk is attached to an unliving object, which goes against the folklore of it attaching to a living human, basically. So it doesn't really make sense with like the actual term of Dybbuk. So biggest thing to know for this is that the name has nothing to do with a Dybbuk. All right, so we're going to knock that out. This old lady had it, and she called it the Dybbuk Box. And that's just why it's called that. So she was Jewish, but it has nothing to do with the Jewish belief of a Dybbuk. Okay. So, just so we know, the Dybbuk Box is more so haunted by a demon and not a Dybbuk, and the original owner's granddaughter also passed it on to be described as the Dybbuk Box after her grandmother died. The name just stuck ever since. So, I know you're wondering, who is this Kevin guy? Kevin Manis. Woo, 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 entering the picture. He was the owner of an antique store in Portland, Oregon. And he came across an estate sale of a woman, and her name was Havila, and she was a 103-year-old Polish woman who recently passed away. After growing up and raising a family, she was sent to a Nazi concentration camp, and her parents, siblings, husband, 2 sons, and a daughter were all killed.
Oh my God.
I know, poor thing. And after escaping the camp, she ended up in Spain and acquired a wine cabinet. Now, there were only 3 things that she immigrated to the United States with from Spain, And that was this box that we're talking about. Also, I'm going to call it a cabinet because it is a cabinet. Yeah. It's not really, I want you to picture more of a wine cabinet rather than a box. You'll definitely see pictures on the Instagram. But just know when I say cabinet, that's what I'm talking about. So she brought that. She brought a sewing box and then a steamer trunk. Those are the 3 things that she brought with her.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But one big thing about this cabinet is that she stated that the box was never to be opened. Super important. So Kevin is just here at the sale and he's like, let's see, what kind of antiques can I get? His store was more of like a furniture type store.
Yeah.
So he would refurnish different furniture to sell it and whatnot. And so he just kind of bought like a big pallet of things and was just like, all right, let's go for it. And he didn't really look into what he was buying.
Yeah.
So one of the items was the Dybbuk box, and after seeing the wine box, it was padlocked shut, and so he was like, this looks really important. I think I'm gonna go return this. Oh. He's like, I feel like they didn't mean to give this away, because why else would it be padlocked?
Yeah.
You know, like this has to, and it looked like a family heirloom, so he's like, this was a mistake, like I'm gonna go bring this back. So he tried to return it, but the granddaughter was angry and was like, no, like we made a deal, you're keeping it. And so she didn't want to, despite how many times he was like, I don't need my money back. Like, just take it. It's fine. It looks important. I don't need it. It's okay. And she actually got really emotional and was just like, no, keep it. And like started crying. And he's just kind of like, okay. But then she also explained the story behind it a little bit. Yeah. And kind of talked about her grandmother's background and everything and how her grandmother said never to open it. And eventually Kevin left with the box and went to his antique store. He put the box in the basement and then left. 30 minutes later, when he returned home, he got a phone call from a salesperson that worked at his shop saying that she heard glass break and she was nervous that somebody had broken into the shop. She was locked in, and even like the emergency exit wasn't working.
Oh, God.
And so she tried to leave the store, but she couldn't. So he's trying to rush back to the shop and told her to call the cops. But right after, he's like, make sure to, his phone dies.
Oh, God.
So he doesn't get to tell her to call the cops. And so he's like, I don't know if she's okay. So he's literally driving to his store, going 100 miles per hour.
Jesus.
Just because he didn't know what was happening. Like, he doesn't want her to get killed, you know. So his phone died, but he's just like, we're going, let's do it. We're going to get there. And once he got there, they went to search everything. He decided, like, since she was like, I didn't hear anything else, I think we're good. They decided to just like go for it and kind of look around themselves. And they were not able to find any sign of an intruder, but it smelled like cat pee.
Oh.
Which is something we're going to see happen a lot.
Yeah.
So the smell of cat urine, they're like, this is interesting. And every single light bulb in the basement had shattered.
Oh,
so
God.
that was the glass breaking. But there was really only one entrance and exit to the basement, and it was locked. So there was no window that was broken.
Yeah.
Like, there was only one door that they could possibly use, and it was completely locked and didn't look like anyone went through. And also, they would have been able to see someone leave because they couldn't go through the basement.
Yeah.
So, like, they would have had to come up and leave that through a door, through a window. So it's kind of like, nobody was down there. So that's interesting. After that day, the worker quit and refused to come back.
Oh, I don't blame him.
I know. Poor thing. So she doesn't even like to talk about it anymore. Like,
yeah.
She refuses to talk about it. But Kevin didn't think anything weird of it. He's just kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting. Let's move on. He never, like, thought of it being the box. So after this, many strange things were to come. He decided to open the box. Come on, dude, really? But inside, he found some very interesting items. So there was a 1928 U.S. wheat penny. There was one single blonde hair. There was one lock of brown hair. There was a statue engraved with the Hebrew word shalom. And there was one dried rosebud, one golden goblet, and a black candlestick holder with octopus legs.
What the fuck?
Just the randomest things.
Literally.
So Kevin's just kind of looking at him like, okay. Now, the reason why I mentioned an eBay post later is because he does eventually end up selling it on eBay.
Oh, God.
Let's bring it back, y'all, to the 2001. Like, eBay was huge. And this was like...
it was.
This, like, we had Amazon, but nobody was using that. And also, like, this was the easiest way to sell shit. We didn't have Facebook Marketplace, none of that.
That and Craigslist.
Yeah. So, like, I remember my dad and my brother would sell shit on eBay all the time. You know, it was just, like, it was very common back then. So... He went to eBay. Nowadays, you could just make like a TikTok about it, and then you'd be famous. And then everyone would try to buy the item from you. But yeah, eBay was what we had to do back then. So he made an eBay post describing it, and he mentioned that the granddaughter told him that her grandmother wanted the box to be buried with her. However, she wasn't buried with it because of the contrary beliefs of an Orthodox Jewish burial. They're like, we cannot do that.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's pretty big. Like, what are you supposed to do? Just lay it on her?
Literally.
Like, you don't want to do that. So they were kind of like, we can't bury this with her. So it didn't happen as she wished. But he also mentioned that the granddaughter got emotional when he tried to return it, as I talked about earlier. And he stated that he planned to fix it up and give it as a gift to his mother. So this is kind of... Everything I'm going to talk about now is what's in his post. So these are his actual words, what actually happened from his perspective. Yeah. So he began refinishing it 2 weeks later and discovered that when you open one door, the other door opens as well. And the little drawer opens too. They're not connected by any spring, so it was kind of weird that they're just opening. But he ended up just being like, whatever, it's fine. This guy does not think anything weird of it for a while.
Oh, okay? God.
Yeah. So he ended up saving all of the items found in the box to try to return them to the granddaughter. But so he brought all the items to her and was like, I know you don't want the box, but like, here's all the items. And she's like, you opened it? He's like, oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, God.
But she's like, no, I'm good. You can keep them. So he put them in the eBay listing with it and said, you cannot buy the items by themselves. You have to buy the entire thing.
Oh, God.
I think he wanted he wanted to make sure that those items stayed in there.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know why they're in there in the first place.
Yeah.
So he actually ended up deciding to not refinish it. He's like, let's just keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
And he just cleaned it with lemon oil.
Interesting.
Gotta do what you gotta do. That must be what you should use on wood. I don't know. So his mother was busy on her actual birthday, and so she planned to see him 3 days later, which was, interestingly, October 31st. Halloween.
Wow.
So she came to his shop, and they left to get lunch together, but before they did, he gave her the box. And she's like, wow, this is beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate it, son. And he's like, you're welcome, Mom.
Wow.
And then he went to go make a phone call for 5 minutes before one of his employees came running into his office saying that something was wrong with his mom. She was sitting next to the cabinet. Her face had no expression, and she had tears going down her cheeks. He tried to talk to her, and she was just not responding. She wouldn't, and she couldn't respond to him. And so, of course, they called 911, and she had a stroke and was taken to the hospital by ambulance. So they were able to determine it was a stroke.
Oh, God.
She ended up suffering partial paralysis and lost her ability to speak for years. Later, it came back, but yeah, she just randomly.
Dang.
I know.
And she never said anything?
No. So she could understand kind of like what he was trying to tell her.
Yeah.
So he would try to ask her questions, and then the way that she was able to respond is pointing to the letters in the alphabet and kind of spelling things out.
Yeah.
So the following day after it happened, he was like, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? And she spelled out, no gift.
Oh.
And he's like, what are you talking about? I got you a gift. I got you that box, remember? Yeah, he thought maybe she's just having memory issues. And then she spelled hate gift.
Oh.
And he's like, okay, sorry, Mom, I'll get you something better. Isn't that kind of funny? That's the first thing she said.
Yeah.
But that obviously shows that there was something about it that did not go well for her. And so he's like, okay, I'll get you something else soon. Let's just recover first and all that. Oof. But yeah, that was really the only way they could communicate for a while. So he still did not think anything weird of this wine cabinet. You should start picking things up.
Literally.
Especially after that.
This dude is so oblivious.
I know. So then he gave the cabinet to his sister, who kept it for a week and then gave it back to him. She wasn't able to close the doors without them opening again. So every time she tried to close them, they would open.
Maybe that's why they were padlocked.
Yeah. because they just kept opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. She's like, don't open it because they'll just keep opening.
Literally.
So then he ended up giving it to his brother and his brother's wife. And his brother said that he smelled jasmine flowers when they opened it. But his wife said that they smelled the same cat urine. And they gave it back because they were creeped out.
Oh, God.
He then gave it to his girlfriend, Kevin's girlfriend.
Why does he keep giving it to people?
He didn't know what to do. And she asked him to sell it 2 days later. He sold it the first day he tried to a couple. And then 3 days later, he came to the shop to find the box sitting on the front porch with a note saying, "This has bad darkness."
Oh.
Yeah, so they brought it back. And then he took it home, and that's when things got worse.
Oh, no.
Every single night, he would have the same nightmare that started the night he brought it home. In the dream, he was walking with a friend. This was usually somebody that he knows well or somebody that he trusts, so sometimes it would change.
Yeah.
But he looks the person in the eyes, and then as he's looking at them, he realizes that the person looking back at him looks evil. Kind of, he described it in his eBay post, looking like a gruesome and demonic-looking hag.
Oh, wow.
And then the hag beats the hell out of him.
Oh, God.
So this was his nightmare every single night.
Oh, God.
And when he wakes up, he finds bruises and marks on himself where he had been hit in the dream. I just think of when we played those trampoline games.
Oh, yeah.
And you like, it was like about the cat scratches you.
Yeah.
There's something psychological about that because it actually worked.
Yeah.
Like we weren't messing around, but like it was this game where you say like it's a whole story we have to tell, and you're like, we're trying to like hypnotize the person or something. This is what we did before iPads, kids, okay?
Literally.
So we would do that, and then they'd be like, all right, now let's check your back for scars. And then there'd be a bunch of scars on your back. There was also one that was like Sandman, and then you feel heavy.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's like something psychological about that maybe you can like make, if you think about it too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist or a psychologist, but yeah, that's just interesting. So that's what I thought of, though. I was like, when we used to play those games. But he didn't consider the wine cabinet to be the cause of the nightmares. He still was like, nah, it's not that. Like, buddy, when are you going to put all the things together?
Literally.
You know? One night, his sister and brother and his brother's wife spent the night at his house. The next morning, his sister complained about having a nightmare. And when she described it, it sounded exactly like what happened in his nightmares, with the same hag.
Oh.
Then his brother and wife were listening, his brother and his brother's wife were listening to the story, and they were like, wait a second, I had the same nightmare. And then she was like, me too. So they had it, and they realized they all had it when the cabinet was at their house. And so, like, because it was at Kevin's house, his sister had it staying there. But then when it was at his brother and his brother's wife's house, they had that nightmare too.
They were putting the puzzle piece together.
Yeah, so this is when it really started to kick, and Kevin's like, oh shit. He's like, wait a second. And then mom had a stroke, you know, like he's starting to put all things together. So they realized the cabinet was at each house during that time. And then he was like, okay, let's test this out. He called his girlfriend because she also owned it for a little bit too. So he just wanted to check with her. And so he called her and was like, hey, have you had any weird nightmares recently? And she was like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. This happened. And then he like described a part of the nightmare, and she was like, how did you know? So she ended up having the exact same nightmare. And he asked, like, did it happen while you had the cabinet? And she was like, oh, wait, I think it did. Like, you know, because you don't always remember the night that you had a specific dream. But she was like, I remember that vividly. And that's part of the reason why I gave it back to you. So, like, they're all just kind of sitting there, like, looking at it like, what are we gonna do with this? There are also weird things that happen after this. Like, they would see a lot of shadows appear randomly. When the cabinet was in the outside storage unit, he was awakened by a smoke alarm going off in the middle of the night to no smoke, basically. But then he would smell the cat urine again. And then he went back inside his house one night and he smelled the same smell. This was confusing to him. He's never had a cat and he doesn't have one now. So he was like, how do I keep smelling cat urine? He's very confused by that. And he went back outside and grabbed the cabinet and then tried to research it online. As he was trying to research it, he fell asleep and had the same nightmare and woke up around 4:30 a.m. He described it as like, it kind of felt like somebody was breathing on him. Yeah. He could like feel that and hear it. So then he woke up kind of freaked out. And then he realized his house didn't smell like cat urine anymore. It smelled like jasmine flowers. Yeah, as his brother described. And he saw a huge shadow going down the hall in front of him.
Oh, God.
And this is when he was like, all right, I need to destroy this box or something. So he thought of destroying it, but he was nervous because he didn't really know, like, how to deal with things like this, and he didn't want to make it worse.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, he's like, I know somebody on eBay has to know what to do with this. Because, like, I don't know what to do with it, but I know there's some people on eBay who do.
Yeah.
So that's why he decided to post the eBay post and sell it online. And he had no reserve price or minimum bid. So, like, on eBay, you had to, like, bid.
Yeah.
I think, like, don't you have, like, a minimum price and then people can bid and then it gets higher? I don't even know. Okay. So, yeah. In his listing, he also put a few different details that a lot of people were asking him. He's not religious, and he didn't want to participate in any exorcism or anything. He doesn't feel comfortable in that. He didn't want it to, like, he didn't want to witness anything, and he didn't want it to be in his house, and he didn't want people coming to his house, taking pictures, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He was really very private, so he didn't really want to be, like, the center of attention. It's the opposite of the Lutzes, as we learned.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's not going to sell the items in it without the whole box. That was very particular as well. You must buy all the items that come with it. He also made it clear that he wanted to talk to the winning bidder to make sure that, one, they're a serious adult with the skills of taking care of it. They know how to take care of it. They're not just going to, like, let it haunt them or mess it up.
Yeah.
And two, he wants them to be aware of every single thing that has happened with it. So he's going to give them even more details of the weird events. So he will have no further involvement once somebody else has it. He also made that very clear. Like, once you have it, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I don't want it back. I don't want to hear about it. I'm done. So he was just like, I'm breaking away from it. I'm saying goodbye.
Literally.
Yeah. So making that clear as well, which is good because, you know, people could just return it or, you know, whatever, blame him for whatever happens. Later on, after posting this and kind of like planning on getting rid of it, he went to his fish tank to find all 10 of his fish that randomly died.
Oh.
I know, all at once. Maybe there was something in the tank. Who knows? But yeah. Okay, so in June 2003, so this is 2 years later.
He still hasn't sold it?
He finally sold it.
Oh, God.
To a University of Missouri student named Losiv Nitsky. And he put it back on eBay 8 months later after him and his roommates suffered insomnia and illnesses. Yeah. And then Losiv ended up selling it for $280 to Jason Haxton, who was also a student at the same university.
What?
Jason claimed that it had a paranormal presence and it had an anti-aging effect on him. He felt like he was getting younger. When Jason first had the box, he developed welts and hives and even coughed up blood and would randomly choke.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't think the box liked him.
No.
But then he would also see strange lights and shadows. So he actually ended up taking it to the next step, and he enlisted the help of scientists, paranormalists, and Wiccans to put the box in a more manageable state. Yeah. He's like, I need help. We got to take care of this thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad someone's finally doing it. He believed that the force contained plays off of who it comes in contact with. And so if it doesn't like the person, then it's going to make it worse. And all it's trying to do is seek the right owner. Luckily, it finds the right owner in Zach Bagan's.
Of course.
So Jason kept it in a secure wooden den and then later put it into a military-grade shock-proof container. He didn't want anyone coming to steal it because at this point, people were hearing about it, which led to Zach Bagan's hearing about it. And he's like, I need that shit. If you don't know who he is, he's known for the TV show Ghost Adventures. And he ended up buying the box from Jason. It was probably a good amount of money.
Probably. So
he looked out there, but he now has it in his museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. And he doesn't let people look at it before they sign a waiver. So you have to be very clear that like it could follow you or you could witness something. In 2008, Bagans was going to open the cabinet during a 4-hour live Halloween special. He was planning on doing it, but there was something driving him not to. So he decided not to open it, saying that it was causing his production to fall apart during that moment. So like the force was like, you're not opening it.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
And so everyone was like, dude, come on. Like everyone was giving Zach so much hate.
Yeah.
They're like, you can do all this shit, but you can't open this. You know what I mean? So everyone was getting so mad at him. And he knew the box was aware that he was going to open it. Like, he knew that the box knew that it was going to be opened. Mm-hmm. So he decided to remove the glass case, and he set up a camera to see if, like, there would be any weird things that would happen within the next few days. And when he did that, when he took the glass off, Post Malone was with him.
Oh, this was like, what, a couple years ago?
Yeah, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just love that Post Malone was there. But when he took the glass off, he felt the power of it, and he felt good since he's the owner of the box, and he felt a warmth through his body. It was almost comforting. Yeah. And he said that it was scary, but he had an enjoyment to it. He said, I'm a weird person. But it was kind of like he like came alive. Like, yeah. So it was like the opposite effect on him. So that must mean that like they're meant to be. They're soulmates. Yeah. Post Malone was there, and he touched his shoulder during the opening of the glass and says that he was cursed afterwards. So these are just some things that happened to Post Malone in the following months. First of all, his private plane was forced to make an emergency landing after the tires blew off.
That's wild.
How does that? Yeah, wow. His Rolls Royce was involved in a serious accident, and then 3 armed robbers targeted his home. So that happened. And that's how I'm ending it. I hope you're doing great out there, Posty. Oh my God. But yeah, so I mean, it's still in the museum. You can look at it. You got to sign the waiver. Be careful. Do it at your own risk. But it is really interesting. I really believe in like this more than, because we just recently did the Amityville horror. Yeah. I think this is easier to believe because there's so many people that things have happened to. And it's just like anything spooky like that is kind of like...
Well, and the fact that they're like, I want nothing to do with this.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to go look at it, do it. I would definitely want to visit his museum.
Oh, yeah. My sister said it was really good. That was really cool.
It's on my bucket list. So, like, if I'm going to go, I'm going to have to look at the Dybbuk Box. So, I'll keep you updated. Maybe I shouldn't after what happened to Posty.
Poor Posty.
He's like, I'm just trying to help him out. Put his hand on his shoulder, and then he's cursed.
Oh, the box was probably like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah. Where are all these face tattoos and shit?
Literally. Probably this guy? Had no respect for it.
He's like, I hated your last album.
Whoa.
So yeah, there's the Dybbuk Box. It's very fascinating because we don't know much about the grandmother. Yeah. And the story behind how she got it, we know nothing really besides what her granddaughter passed on. With kind of like the grandmother's story, being a Jewish immigrant and all of that. So makes you wonder.
I mean, I'm sure there could be like more research because if they know that she got it in Spain, yeah, that they can start tracing it from there by like getting anywhere close to that thing.
Right.
To figure out what happened.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Interesting.
But
sitting here thinking about the topics I did this week, I realized I never told y'all where the Amityville house is. It's in New York.
Wow.
Sorry. Just realizing I never said that. It's in Amityville, New York. Okay. Just wanted to clear that up.
Good Lord. 2 weeks later.
Yeah. You've all been wondering so much. But it did cause like New York to pass different laws. That's like you have to tell people when something's haunted.
I think that's for not only that haunted, but if there's something fucked up with the house.
Or if there's a murder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, anyway.
Where can you find us?
You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Historia the Podcast. You can email us at historiathepodcast@gmail.com. We are jumping into November.
Ooh.
So give us good topics. I will not be discussing. I will not be discussing Columbus again.
Wasn't that so much fun?
No. Fuck him.
No, he sucks.
Yeah. But maybe we could do like an indigenous story or something.
I'll look into it.
Yeah.
We'll see what I do next.
And then we have the holidays. So.
It's the holiday season.
Oh, God.
Oop.
Not yet. I know y'all are on Halloween, but we're only in September, so we're going to just enjoy our Halloween season.
I hope you guys did.
I plan to dress like Princess Peach, but I'll let you know if that changes. Do you know what you're dressing up as?
Nope.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to be Princess Peach, and then Basil's going to be Bowser, and then we're going to try to do like Mario and Luigi for the dogs.
Love it.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you updated. I'm making all the costumes, so we'll see.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, I hope you all have a great Halloween, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.